Hi, my name is Kevin Frank. Welcome once again to Weather with Dr. Jeff Andresen. Today's date is July 27th. We are into the final week of July. We have, as we've continued to talk about, Jeff, we've gone from drought-like conditions to it seems like now the rain just won't end. And
And
anytime
yes,
there's the chance, it seems like we get plenty. So look forward to hearing your report this week.
well, thanks, and more changes to talk about in this one and so especially given what we talked about last week. But let me jump on here to start my presentation, and I'm going to couple maps out here this morning again that illustrate this change. On the left-hand side is the upper air pattern across North America here in the upper left. That's as of this morning on Tuesday morning. And the one on the right here is what's forecast to come here on Sunday morning. But I just a couple things about this very, very persistent pattern that we have seen for much of the seems like the spring and for a lot of the summer. But big ridge over western portions of North America and into the Midwest, and then a trough over portions of the Northeast. And the key to that for us, we're Michigan's somewhere in between this, and I think it's really critical and important to think about that, because for certain stretches we've been closer to the ridge, and all of the heat and excessive heat and dryness, etc. We've all seen images of what's happening out in the western part of the U.S. and actually as close as portions of the northern Great Plains under that ridge as well. But look what's projected to happen here this weekend, and this is somewhat unexpected, but it does illustrate that at times we have been closer to the trough. And not only the trough, but notice that the features here are much more meridional. There's a lot more latitudinal coverage. The ridges here in the western part of the U.S. is steeper, and it goes up into Canada, and the trough is deeper. That's a pretty unusual pattern for the warm season for the summer to see. Much more typical, we'd see that in the cold season. But what it does say, almost without question, is that we will be looking, note here with that trough right over Michigan here by Sunday morning. The airflow from the upper air is going to be right out of the north and northwest. And so it means we're going to see a cool down, almost a guarantee, and probably beginning as early as here late in the work week on Friday. I'll talk more about that in a second. But then the next question is, well, how long does that last? But at least for several days, it means that we are going to see a respite or a break in some of the recent warmer and sort of muggy conditions here, noticeably cooler for the weekend. And I one more map here on the lower left hand that reflects current conditions. This is the National Weather Service's all hazard map, and again, it's easy for us to think about where we are, and we're not too far away again from places like the Great Plains. But all of these colors here, these are all heat advisories, heat warning, excessive heat watches, all associated with abnormally high temperatures. So that hot air that's underneath this upper air ridge, it's not that far away. You can see again as close as Illinois in this case. So you don't have to go too far, and you're under the full influence of that particular system. Well, starting here, moving ahead and looking at the last week, mean temperatures on the left-hand side here range from a degree or two cooler than normal in the far southeastern corner of the state to a couple degrees warmer than normal as you go up to the northern western part of the state, western UP. Note also that as you move west into the Great Plains, northern Great Plains, obviously much warmer than normal. That's all part of the same pattern that we've been talking about here. Precipitation over the state was generally normal to above normal. Most locations, you can see most places picked up a half to 1 inch. As Kevin said, it's really been a wet stretch for many portions of the state, and some spots, such as again the southern portions of the southern lower, northern lower, picked up more than 2 inches, and that's denoted here in yellow. So again, another fairly active weather week in terms of precipitation. We did have a notable severe weather outbreak on Saturday, late in the day, the late afternoon, in far northern parts of the state, and then that spread eastward and southward as the evening went on. At least so far, 3 confirmed tornado touchdowns, probably a 4th as well. And but you can see that those are the red markers here indicate where the tornado touchdowns. Most of them were from the northern corner of the thumb in Huron County down to Oakland County. And some of them did cause some significant damage in certain areas. So that's something it's not too unusual at this time of the year, but it reflected very, very high instability and strong dynamics on that day. The blue markers here are all signify wind damage. So you can see that we did see a variety of locations that were impacted by severe thunderstorms and wind here south, again, on mostly on Saturday evening. For degree days here, looking at the seasonal total back to March 1, we picked up about 150, 125 to 150 units, depending on where you are, base 50. And I think the important thing is looking at this in terms of the season on the right-hand side here, these are the departures from normal relative to calendar time. And what it says, and this has been almost almost identical, but we're still running in most locations about 3 to maybe 7, maybe 8 calendar days ahead of normal. So we still have a surplus of degree days. It's been with us for some time, but our accumulation in any given week has actually been fairly close to what is normal. But we still are holding a little bit of a surplus here as we move into the latter part of the summer. Soil moisture with the normal to above normal precipitation in most areas. This, and with the map you're looking at here, is plant extractable water in the top 3 feet of the profile. And you still see, at least in lower Michigan here, a lot of green colors. This is expressed in terms of a percentile. The green means that it's actually higher than the long-term, what it's been in the past. There are a couple of exceptions to that, though. One in the thumb here, that has been an area that has not gotten nearly as much precipitation as other portions of the state, and also into a more recent development here in portions of western upper Michigan. And that is linked, you can see, with all of the excessive and severe dryness and drought conditions off into the portions of the upper Midwest, northern Great Plains, all the way over into the Pacific Northwest. And that's what's associated with that very, very persistent weather pattern. So it depends on where you are, but for most of the state, we're very, very different than we were a month ago. This is the current U.S. drought monitor to reflect on that. And you can see very little color now in Michigan, with the exception, not surprisingly, of the thumb, which we just showed there, and then some portions of northern lower and portions of upper Michigan in the D0 or abnormally dry category. One number to think about, just ponder, the D2 or severe drought category, as recently as mid-June, when we were really getting towards the peak of the dryness, especially in the lower peninsula, 33% of Michigan by area was included in the D2. That number now is down to 1%. So huge changes given all of the precipitation of the last several weeks. On the weather map this morning here, it's a pretty summer-like pattern. We have a stationary frontal boundary across northern sections of lower Michigan. That front, even though it's drawn here as a stationary front, it's actually going to sag slowly southward during the day today and in the evening tonight, and it'll be down to the state line by tomorrow morning. But along with that, we will see some scattered showers. This is the most recent radar pic here. The thing to note about this activity, though, it is dissipating at this time of the day. There's more stability there, and so yes, it's on, and actually most of it's across the lake in Wisconsin, and it is moving southeastward. But this probably will cause at best sprinkles, maybe a little bit of light rain, but nothing significant as that front gradually sags south. And so by tomorrow morning, the map has it down here along the Indiana and Ohio state lines, and then extending westward to the most significant weather system that we're going to face this week. And that's this area of low pressure, which again, tomorrow morning is progged to be over North Dakota. That's going to slide east-southeast along that frontal boundary, and a couple things are going to happen. This one, it has strong dynamics upper aloft. The jet stream will strengthen this system, and just as importantly, the Gulf of Mexico is wide open for business here. There's an awful lot of water vapor headed northward up into the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. So this system has quite a bit to work with in terms of both dynamics and moisture. And what you'll see here is that this low pressure, as it slides southeast, we'll see the development, even though most of tomorrow will be warm and dry for most areas. We'll see the development of showers and thunderstorms in the western portion of upper Michigan by late in the afternoon, and then that will gradually spread east and south to the rest of the state tomorrow evening, overnight into Thursday. Here's Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. This is the outlook. You can see it get closer, and that's when we would have the best chances for showers and thunderstorms, again, especially across the UP and the northern lower. And then that will shift east and south as we move towards daybreak and into the early morning hours on Thursday. And that's the map you see right here. So collectively, again, this is by far the best chance for precip we'll see in the upcoming week. And given the dynamics, given the water vapor here, there is the potential that some of the thunderstorms with this could be strong, although it's given the time of day that it's occurring overnight, hopefully we won't see severe weather. But I think it's important to know with the water vapor there certainly is the potential for heavy rain. I think that's the biggest threat. And in terms of where, I think the southwestern lower is where we would probably see the highest probabilities. Although, again, a 1 inch plus event is possible really anywhere with the system, but it would be most likely across the southwestern lower. So yet more heavy rain here is possible before all of this ends during the day on Thursday. In terms of totals here, precipitation, we've a little bit today, but the vast majority of what you see here in these totals, which range from a half to an inch in the far northern part of the state to more than an inch in the south, the vast majority of this occurs tomorrow and then into Thursday. Now, after Thursday, after that event, it'll turn dry by late in the day. Friday will be a really nice day, pleasant, fair, and dry statewide, but noticeably cooler as that upper air change that I talked about at the beginning winds will shift out of the northwest, and it'll be 10 degrees cooler at least on Friday and continue through the weekend. But given that trough aloft that you saw again on the opening slide here, cold air aloft will lead to instability, and we will see at least the chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially on Saturday, but probably continuing into Sunday as well. Although those will be scattered, best chances for any rain this weekend, probably in the northern part of the state, decreasing as you go south. And maybe we see a quarter of an inch or so here or there, not a really heavy, big precipitation producer, but it will be a little bit unsettled. And at least the chance and the threat will be there. It looks like right now, the beginning of next week will be dry, or at least drier for Monday and Tuesday. But again, the big change here, temperatures will be dropped from highs today in the 80s, well, in some cases upper 80s, back down into the 70s by Friday, and then continue through the weekend and into the next week. So the big change really notable would be in temperature. Our potential evapotranspiration rates for the upcoming week, pretty close to the normals for where we should be for late July, beginning of August. 0.15 to about 0.18 inches per day is what we're looking at right now. A little bit higher over the next 48 hours, and then lower as we move into the weekend with the cooler temperatures. Into the medium range, and this is a change from where we've been the last couple of weeks. Notice here the upper air pattern, very similar to what we saw again on that lead slide, that big trough over eastern North America. Michigan's a northwest flow. Look at the difference. And again, it doesn't take that much east or west for the ridge of the ridge in the west and the trough in the east. This time we're closer to the trough. And as a result of that, our medium range has gone cooler than normal for the 1st to the 5th. And then also note below that, they also are calling for below normal precipitation totals. I think I probably, if I would have put that, I might have gone maybe more towards normal, but I think the cooler than normal temperatures probably are a good bet. And that would include a chunk of the work week next week. The big question then, of course, is, well, what happens after that? Is this going to be a longer term pattern? Right now, the evidence says no, that we will gradually move back to patterns similar to where we've been over the last few weeks, and that we might see the return of above normal temperatures as early as maybe the weekend following next. That's at least what is suggested by models right here. That's still in the long lead outlook period that on the top here for August, but most of the guidance still is suggesting that what forecast to happen this weekend will be somewhat temporary, and then we'll go back to, again, a similar pattern before. So wrapping up here, very summer-like over the next couple of days. Again, the weather system of, I think, greatest note will be starting over the state late tomorrow and then continue into Thursday, possibly some heavy rainfall in portions of the state, and then we'll see a noticeable cooling off with dry conditions on Friday, and then maybe some scattered showers and thunderstorms over the weekend, but definitely cooler. And then that carries on into next week with that little bit of a cooler than normal break, probably then beyond warming back up again, at least to normal, if not above normal. And I'll wrap it up there and see if there are any questions or comments.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. So a little break in some of this high temperature and humidity, it sounds like, which I'm sure will be a little relief. And
right.
That'll be nice. That'll be nice to see for the short term, at least.
It is, and it actually has been a little while since we've had an extended period of cooler temperatures, but it's definitely going to be noticeable. And not that we've been outrageously hot like out west,
yeah.
But it's been muggy and humid in most parts of the state, and this will be a very different type of air mass, cool and low humidity, so pretty dry.
That'll feel good. Appreciate it, Jeff.
Yep,
and
you bet.
Look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you.
You bet.